Hello. Welcome everyone to BPW Goes Digital. This initiative is to bring BPW into a digital era. It is co-facilitated by Dr. Ann Hilty and myself, along with young presenters and trainers who are young BPW members from across the globe. The topic for today is International Online Events for BPW Value. The speaker for today is Joscelin Yeung. She is a young BPW member of BPW Hong Kong. She is the International Relations Chair and Board Member of BPW Hong Kong. She works as a training and development professional who specializes in soft skill delivery. She is also passionate about public speaking and is the current president of a local Toastmasters club. And she believes that public speaking is a way to empower women. She has worked in a local and international NGOs related to gender equality and is a former intern at UN Women. With this, I would like to welcome our speaker, Joscelin Yeung. Now the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Nilima, for introducing me, and it's great to see you all today at today's webinar. And as Nilima has mentioned, today is about international online events for BPW value. Wow! Thank you so much for attending tonight's event, and for tonight, or for me it's tonight, for you it may be a morning or good afternoon. So I would like to say a hello, or good morning, or good afternoon to you all. As for today, we mentioned it's a webinar, but I would more to say it's a co-creation time for all of us to think of what kinds of international online events we could actually hold together. As for our members who may have attended our previous webinars or those who may not, I would strongly encourage you to use our chat room in the Zoom. And if you're not quite sure where to find the chat room, you can always find it in the toolbar, and there's this little chat box, and you can click on it, and feel free to type in any of your ideas during our presentation at the first half of our webinar today. And in the later part, you'll be able to discuss using your voice and using in other formats. So let's kickstart. So when we talk about international online events, if you are first planning one already, second, you're not quite sure what kind of events to plan, or third, you're just trying to sit in and try to get something new and interesting, you are in the right place today. Is that we'll first talk about some types of or different formats for some international events or regional events. And then we'll move on to some brainstorming parts. And I'll be going through it with you. So no worries, and let's kickstart. Okay. Now for the types of online events, we're mainly going to cover two different types first. The first type, you're all super familiar with it, which is the 100% online virtual events, which is what we are doing now. Yes, and I see that many of us are joining now, and do say in the chat room, perhaps like your name and also where you're from, so we do know where you are. And that is really important, and an important tip for any online meeting. So do say your name and also like where you're from, so we know where our BPW sisters are from. And the second type that we're going to talk about is called hybrid mode, a hybrid meeting, which consists of a virtual meeting and a face-to-face. And we'll talk in more details about that later. Some common issues that we face when we hold online or meetings with online components, which is the first thing, time zones. I'm sure that today we have people coming from all around the world, which is great that you're accommodating for this particular time zone. But for example, if I'm holding it in like 9 a.m. at Hong Kong time, it may be at 9 p.m. or it could be like in the midnight for another country. So perhaps when we think of either it's an international event or rather a regional event, we do have to cater for the time zone. Another common issue that we also have to face is the internet bandwidth. I see that so far, nobody has been dropping off their internet, and that's great. I do hope that you all could keep up with the internet bandwidth. We do have to cater for some of our members who may live in countries or places where the bandwidth is not as strong, or that our internet plan, it just doesn't go as much because many people are probably using internet due to the lockdown. so that we may have to provide dial-in options. As for many of these technical issues, you may also find it in other webinars that we have previously mentioned. For example, our webinars on Zoom or on online symposium or AGM. So there are many other previous webinars that may have already touched on some more technical issues. Now moving on. For the first type, which is the 100% virtual meetings, which is what we are doing now, we can obviously see the benefit is that we could use different video conferencing platforms such as this, Zoom, or we could use Google Meet, or we can even use something like Miro, which is a collaborating platform. And I know there is also a video recording coming up on that. For this type, the benefit is there's no geographical and time constraints. We can just join whenever we like, while we're having lunch, while you're babysitting, while you're just walking your dog. You can just join it anytime or anywhere. Also, we can also use some very advanced or different types of technology tools to collaborate. For Zoom, we can just use a chat room, and at the end of the meeting, we'll be able to export it as a meeting note, which is super convenient. Just remember all the sticky notes that you have to stick for physical meetings, which is like super troublesome. Also, we are not affected by external circumstances, such as the COVID-19 that we're in, or any kind of external circumstances like the event venue is full, or we can't find any event venue, or the event venue is too expensive. Now, these are all like the pros of having a virtual meeting. But of course, there are two sides of a coin. There's some issues that we do have to cater for, which is all the people, in order to hold a successful regional or international event, at least the participants, they need a basic or at least a similar level of technological knowledge. And that's why we're having BPW Goes Digital webinar. Awesome place for us to know more about tech. And the second, as I mentioned, the network stability. Note that some members may suddenly drop off and just their face may disappear. It's also okay, but it just makes the meeting a bit difficult sometimes. Last but not least, there's a limited interaction. Although I can see you in the chat room, I can see some of your beautiful faces, still we just can't have the human touch, which is a little bit, some people really earn for it. So that's probably for the 100% virtual meeting. I'm not going to talk more on it because we're super familiar with it already. Now moving on to this concept, which is called hybrid meetings, which is something that I would really want to introduce to you all. It's a physical meeting, perhaps in an event room where there's like 20, 30 people. And then there's also an online attendance or maybe like an online speaker who will appear on a screen. And that is called hybrid meeting. With this kind of meeting, what is good about it is that, again, there's no geographical constraint for perhaps the expert speaker that you are trying to invite. I mean, if I'm from Hong Kong, I can invite somebody from the US or the UK to be our speaker, and he or she won't have to travel. Awesome, saving costs. We can even have online attendees who are visiting from another country without having to travel on a plane. And the second best thing is that we can have face-to-face interaction of the people who are actually in the room. So that's probably a wonderful point and something I have been looking forward to because we are still, I'm in like a semi-lockdown in a way. Also, we can have increased participation. Some people may think, oh, who would want to attend like an online attendance on a real meeting? Who would like to just be on the screen and like there's an online meeting? Actually, studies have shown that many people, they like to join this kind of meetings because they may want to join the meetings physically, but they just can't go, maybe just because they have work or maybe they're just out of the country, but they still want to join. So online attendance is something that we may want to think of. Of course, there are always some issues that we do have to consider, which is the pre-meeting briefing with the online attendees or speakers and a coherent engagement. Which means that if there's an online speaker, for example, that you want to invite, you do need somebody to inform that person in advance, perhaps like when to join the meeting, like what you expect of the meeting. And if you have even online attendees joining, you have to perhaps send them an email, tell them what's going to happen, when are we going to let you speak. and all that. That's probably some kind of logistic work that we have to work on. And it's not super easy, I have to say. It's a little bit challenging. The second issue is the role of the host and the co-host, which I will talk about a little bit later. Because you need a very diligent and efficient host in order to host this kind of meeting. Imagine there's like 30 people sitting here and there's like a person on the screen. So how to interact, like the person in the screen and like the people down there? How can you make sure that like not everybody is speaking at the same time and they're having a maximum level of interaction? That's something that we have to consider. The first thing is, of course, the technological equipment. If you're thinking of really advanced level of hybrid meeting, you even want to capture like what is happening in the room, you may even need some like AV equipment to like, pan the room and to show like the people online what's happening in the real time. But that's something rather advanced that we may not dwell into, but that's also an opportunity for us to think about. Now, talking about the type of host in a 100% virtual meeting, these are some of the roles that I personally have experienced, and would just like some examples. There are tremendous hosts, like roles that we can think of. For the first and the foremost, we need a moderator. Like today, like we need like an MC, like a person who will really host the program, and you will see that person speaking, introducing the guests, And the second person, which is also very important, but this person probably won't speak as much. She will probably be the technology facilitator. For example, in Zoom, we call it a Zoom master. So that person will be, admitting the guests into the room, taking care of the online attendees, and etc. If there are technical problems, they will help to solve, like sharing the screen and playing the video and etc. The third role that I personally found it really interesting is called chat master, which is perhaps among our group tonight, there may be somebody who is a chat master who will be monitoring our chat room and will particularly be the one who's typing, because if I'm the MC, I probably won't have time to speak and chat and type at the same time. So a chat master is also good to answer the inquiries, or perhaps just to lead the Q&A as well. Also, we may have some co-hosts, which is perhaps we may have some breakout rooms or some discussions, and just the MC herself won't be able to do it all. So we need some co-host or moderator to help in the breakout rooms and to hold the sessions. So what about the hybrid mode? For the hybrid mode, it's a little bit similar. We also need a main moderator, but that person will be physically in the room with that like 20, 30 attendees. So she will be monitoring and just introducing the flow, And then the technology facilitator plays an even more important role, because she will need to also introduce the speakers and to make sure that the people are engaging online, so and so. So in the hybrid mode, that is something that we can think more of. And because taking care of people online, perhaps on the other side of the world, is not as easy as we think. But it's something that we can definitely worth thinking of. Let's talk about the basics, the types of different online events. I know that some of you have already had some plans in head, and let's now explore the different opportunities. What can we actually do, or what types of online events can we actually hold? In the upcoming slides, I'll be going through different types, and do feel free to type in the chat room of what kind of topics that you can already think of, and this may facilitate our discussion later. One of the types of the international or regional online events is a simple one, which is a joint club meeting. Simple and easy. It could be a one-to-one or two-on-two, just let's say like a one-on-one club meeting. That's much easier. Perhaps one club can be the host, and they want to invite like another club to have a joint meeting. They may have like a joint project brainstorming on maybe like to generate like a girls empowerment hotline based in Asia, maybe. Or they may also think of like a networking event, just like a lunch and learn event. Now, if you have any ideas that you just suddenly pop into your mind, any kind of joint club meetings topic, feel free to type in the chat room. And like you just thought, wow, that's an awesome idea. And you may find your partner maybe tonight in the online chat room. So it's also important to state the maximum number that we are looking for, like that like a Zoom room or that collaboration platform can accommodate. Because if there's just too many signups, we just have to let those people know that it's a first come first serve basis. So joint club meetings is the very first, and I would say the simplest form of an international or a regional event. If you haven't tried one, probably things that you can think of. Another thing, which is also an important pillar of BPW, which is the professional training. For every affiliate, we do have our global skills training chair, and we hold global skills training workshops on different, like on women's empowerment, maybe on financial literacy, and etc. and etc. Have you ever thought of inviting somebody from another country to train your club? Of course, local experts are great, but sometimes we just want some external insights, and that may be an also like a hybrid, like a local expert or an international expert. Also, if you're holding like a regional training topic, for example, if you're based in Europe, you may also think, okay, so what does Europe need in this, like in the COVID-19? Do we need some special needs or special basis? Then we can have like a panel of different people training at the same time. It doesn't only have to be one training, because if you've organized a training before, you know that you do take some effort to actually organize a training. So why not open it up to more people? For example, if you're training on intercultural communication, yes, you can talk about it, but why not have people from different cultures actually come together? Isn't that a better example of demonstrating or understanding what intercultural communication is? This is just an example. So if you think of anything, it pops up in your mind, just type it in the chat box. What kinds of topics do you think can actually use like an online platform to conduct your training? I look forward to seeing your input in the chat room. Another important aspect or pillar that we can also focus on for our BPW online international events is also an important part of our organization, which is advocacy. You don't have to just advocate like going personally on the streets, like you can do advocate online. For example, you can go like an online petition platform. Wow, you can just Google online petition platform and you will be amazed. There's so many online petition platforms which are catered especially for the needs of non-profit organizations. For example, if you want to go for like a petition for a safe place, like a safe space for female workers in the like workplace, for example, I think there are already some kind of petition out there, like such as these. You can just go for a website like Go Petition or Change.org. These are really famous and common websites and easy to navigate. And by using the power of online, not only 100 people can sign, it can be 1,000, it can be 2,000, it could even be all like the 40,000 members or like all the members of all BPW members around the world. They could sign your petition. Imagine the power. You don't just only have to raise the boards and just shout. You can leverage the power of online petition to actually advocate for a change, and even perhaps submit that suggestion to UN Women. Like as I know that the International Federation has like the status and collaboration with UN Women, so that's definitely something that we can leverage on. Let's think bigger. What about if our international online events platform, can we use it for maybe even BPW regional or international conferences? I'm not sure, but I personally will be really looking forward to something like this, because it means that every BPW sister from all around the world, we can actually participate in a regional or international level. So let's see if that can happen. I do have to mention one of the really important advantages of having like an online component is that we can record the meetings, which is what we are doing now exactly. We are recording this webinar, so it means that not only our attendees tonight can actually see or can participate, people or like our sisters all around the world, if they miss this webinar, they can also go and revisit it. And that's why, thanks to our BPW Goes Digital series, we have loads of webinars now, and we can share our knowledge and our insights with our global sisters. As you can see, we have this hug. So even though we can't hug like physically, we can give our virtual hugs, giving through sharing our knowledge, which I think is a really powerful tool for empowering ourselves, and especially during times of crisis. So now we have gone through different types of online events. We've gone through some possible opportunities. Can you see some question marks popping up, or do you see some ideas already popping up? Thank you so much. So this will be my part on my sharing. I guess it'll be more on like a part to stimulate your senses and to get you start thinking, what can we or you can actually do? What is your next potential international event or regional event or joint club meeting? What are the potential topics? And this is going to be our next part. And I know that Dr. Ann Hildy will be helping us to moderate for our discussion. So thank you so much for participating. And I see people having commenting in the chat room. Thank you so much. And I hope that you do have some insights or some new ideas popping up already in your mind for your next international event. I can't wait to sign up.
Okay. Thank you, Joscelin, and thanks to everybody who's joined us today. And that was a really good springboard for our discussion to follow, as well as questions if anyone has them. And your questions might be to the whole room as well. So who would like to jump in first? Who has something to contribute, an idea, a question, a comment on what's already been said? If you would either just raise your hand so I can recognize you, or you can use the raise hand function as outlined in the house rules in the chat. So whichever you prefer. Yes, Joscelin, if you would stop the screen share now, that would be great. That way I can see almost everybody. Okay, so let's see, we've got Chantal and then we've got Francesca for our first couple of speakers. Chantal?
That was fabulous. I have a quick question. When we do the hybrid event, why wouldn't we also use the chat master to deal with the online chat that might be happening at the same time?
That's a really good question. To be very honest, I guess it depends on the type of hybrid. If you're having like an online attendance, then you can still have the chat master. So very good point of spotting that. But if you're having a hybrid event, which is just featuring an online speaker, so that in that case, you may not need that chat master, but it's very good that you love this idea of a chat master. And I personally really like this point. Thank you so much, Chantal, for your question.
Chat master is a great phrase. I like Zoom master too. I think that's me these days. Before we go on to Francesca, I want to just mention also, Chantal, in my thinking, although there's certainly no rule about this, if you've got people gathered together in a room, you kind of want to discourage them from chatting with one another if someone is speaking, whereas in this format, it's very easy and not so distracting. So maybe if we have half and half, maybe we want to disable the chat only because half of the room wouldn't be able to be participating in it. So it might feel, this is just my thinking off the cuff, but it might feel a little bit one-sided that only the people in the online format can engage in that discussion and the people in the room can't even see it. So that's one possibility.
Good point. So it comes back to what Joscelin said. It depends. It depends on the type of event.
Of course, of course. Francesca, you were next.
I just wanted to say I thought it was a great presentation and thank you so much. It was really good.
That's it. Francesca, so you're thinking of doing your AGM, actually you're planning to do both the national and your club AGM both this month in a 100% virtual format. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh, well, now that I've learned so much about Zoom, because originally I couldn't stand being virtual, but now that I know how to use the tool, it's very interesting. I love it. And so we will be doing both AGMs. The national is called the General Assembly, and that's August 15th and 16th. And our AGM won't be coming up for a couple of months because we have to get paperwork out according to our bylaws. But we've been doing everything virtually now on Zoom. And we have to. I mean, even though we're allowed to be out now, it's really not the greatest, and my members do not want to be out on the street. And so we've gone virtual on everything, including our weekly She Talks, which are presentations and then questions and answers. So it's been a very interactive tool, and it's been wonderful. And we've used, you know, polling, and we've used the annotation, what's that other tool? Annotation tool, where you can, you know, I did a presentation and I had people writing on my slides and doing all kinds of things. And so it's really quite a very impressive tool. I'm really impressed. I wish I bought stock in it before all this happened.
So Francesca, one more thing before I let you go and go on to whoever will be next. I know that USA has had a lot of different online events, and some of those are social. By definition, we're talking about international events today. But you have your happy hours, and you have had candlelighting, I think, and certainly you're going to have one for the General Assembly. And you've also had locally, I think, or was it? No, you've even had international, where you've had mutual cooking sessions and things of this nature. So social events within our BPW sisterhood, which is about building relationships. It's not exactly professional development, but it's about building relationships, is another whole area that we could add into this. So if you want to say anything more about that, about how that worked for you, so that we can take your national idea and move it to
Sure.
the
Sure. So when this first started, you know, I was kicking and screaming because I like to be with people, and I, you know, oh, I can't do this. And then, you know, once you learn how to use something, it becomes very usable and resourceful and really great. So I was talking to Carla, the president of BPW Vincenza, and I said, you know, I can't believe this. I'm the salad bar woman. You know, I pick up salad on the way home, and that's what I eat. And so I said, I don't know how to cook. She said, I'll teach you. And so on Sundays, we've been doing international Italian cooking parties, where she has a recipe, and it only takes 10 to 15 minutes because, you know, we're all business and professional women, and we cook things up. So we've had pasta, we've had dishes, we've had desserts, we've had everything. And it's been fun because we laugh at each other. They laugh at me, really, because my desserts came out so flat and all of theirs were beautiful. So it's a great bonding. And regionally, we did do a candlelight, and it was just fabulous. We hadn't seen each other for a while, and the feedback was so incredible that we're now going to do another event on August 28th, and we're going to be doing once a month regionally, or once every 6 to 8 weeks. So it's really turned out to be a fabulous tool. And I'm
So
surprised
regional,
at myself.
regional North America. Nilima, I'd like to get you to jump in here too, my partner in crime with this series. Because in Nepal, the Young BPW has been having a series of lectures, maybe generally an educational format, but you've brought in our BPW speakers from other parts of the world too. So would you tell us more about that? And participants, of course.
The thing was that, you know, after the BPW digital started, a lot of members, young members, they wanted to be active, you know, in an online format. And even in Nepal, they wanted to have something, you know, in a way in which we can bring BPW members together. One of the problems that we have in BPW is that we have different clubs in different parts of the world, but they are not, you know, connected. They only meet in the regional conference or congress, and then they have to wait for another 3 years to meet. So I think to bring them together during this pandemic, you know, it was, we started with the content. Like the first one was, Helen was the speaker there, where she gave a lot of information about how New Zealand is, you know, they're coming back into normal with a lot of national policies, which other countries could implement. And we have like one speaker from Nepal, who is from the government of Nepal. The last speaker was the Secretary of Women, Ministry of Women. And before that also we had another one who was from the ministry. So this time we have every other 15 days. So maybe next week we'll have one. So that has brought a lot of members together, and also to have we also have one international speaker, the speaker who is not from Nepal. So someone from BPW who is an expert in something. So I think in that way we are bringing the members from other countries to know about Nepal. At the same time, even the members of Nepal, they get to know that who the members are, you know. So that is one thing that's happening. And another thing is we have a lot of webinars going in the regional, local level, national level. A lot of regions are active to bring them together, though I'm planning for international ones when all the members are really active in Zoom. So the next one is happening from the 1st of August, because August 12th is International Youth Day, and it's impossible to bring them all together because of the time difference, because I realized that, sometimes, for me to attend the USA happy hour is like 3 a.m. for me. So it gets a little hard. So the thing is that all the reason is, all 5 reasons they are having, we are planning on it. The Asia Pacific is already finalized. We are having it this Saturday at 3 a.m. UTC, which is like 8 or 9 a.m. for me. So for some of you, it may be midnight, but it's a gathering where we have one representative from one country who will come and speak about how their country is coping with the COVID and what are the policies that has, helped them to cope with this COVID, and also with everything related to their country, and also what the country as a BPW they are doing in their country. So it will be more like a regional discussion on how the members and the countries are working. So for now, Asia Pacific is Asia Pacific is for 1st of August, and then every Saturday we have all the reason, which I will post it in BPW International Facebook, and also I'll send it to the emails. I think most of the young representative, they send to all the president in the region. So hopefully everyone will receive, and I hope everyone will attend. And also I encourage that, for the members, for the, a lot of young members, they say that, what is BPW doing? So I think at this situation where we are all stuck at home, I think the only way we can do is have, any kind of webinars to bring them together. So yeah, that is all that's been happening in with the international and also with the young ones.
Thanks, Nilima. So another initiative that Nilima and I have been running since well before COVID days is intergenerational dialogue, which is a once-a-month meeting on a different topic each time to get us speaking across all 5 generations as we have now in the workforce and in BPW, to see how, for example, the concept of communication is different among generations, and how professional development might be very different among the generations, or our professional lives, but also our expectations of BPW, so that we can better meet the needs and better understand one another. So that's been another format that we've been running. I'm very intrigued, as you were talking about, Nilima, by the idea of virtual conferences, and not necessarily to replace the ones we already do, although these days we can't do those in person, of course, but even in addition. So I have this idea that one club or federation could have a conference just as we would have done in days of old, only we invite speakers from various parts of the world from their own home, rather than having to fly in on a plane and give them a hotel and all of these other things. It's more convenient for everybody, but it just expands our potential speaker base to our 25,000 members around the world. So that's a pretty significant pool. I'll talk about another event in a minute, but I see that Sylvia has got her hand up, so I'll defer to someone else for a moment. Sylvia?
Yes, thank you, and very much indeed. And I've enjoyed the discussion. And I just wanted, when Nilima was speaking, just to say to you that in the UK, we're going to do our national AGM on a virtual basis. And also that we having something which we do usually in the summer, but we've delayed it, called a Members' Day. And one of the guest speakers is one Nilima Basnet. And she's going to be a speaker at one of our UK ones. Also, on a Thursday evening with another past president of UK, I'm running a training course. We're doing it for about 8 weeks. And it's actually on BPW International, because it's picking up a lot of new members who perhaps haven't had international experience. And it's quite interesting, really, because they've come from all over the UK, and some of them who perhaps are north of Scotland, where there's no clubs, so it's something for them to participate in. But also, two of our members also live abroad, one in Berkeley in California and one in south of France, so they've been able to contribute. So that sort of follows what Joscelin was saying, how we've used it. I live my life on Zoom, actually, because of charities of which I'm a trustee or on a board, different boards, and everybody, I think, is really enjoying the experience and coming to it, whatever their age and whatever their experience. So that's quite a unifying thing.
Great. Lisa, are you with us? Your video isn't on, so I'm not sure. She might have stepped away. Well, you are there. Here. Okay. Otherwise, I would have deferred to Joscelin. Could you tell us a little bit about the fireside chats that you're having during the lockdown phase of Hong Kong?
Yeah, sure. So I think as COVID sort of sweep through the Asia city first, I think Hong Kong was one of the first few that was on the list high up there. I think as the president, as our club, our ex-committee sort of come together and look at different options of how we can still be engaged with our members while we perhaps stay at home or work from home a bit more. So through that, we decided that it is due time to also feature a lot of our members who are very successful, very inspiring, very enthusiastic women. So we decided to have a fireside chat series where we invite our members to host a webinar to tell us more about what they do or things that they're passionate about. And we have had chats about sustainability, for example. Someone was very passionate about that. Empathetic leadership, empathetic potential. These are all very important topics as well, and skills that we need as we survive COVID together. So so it has been quite successful. We have now been expanding our online events to external speaker. I think as the digital world become the new normal, speakers are more willing to do these webinars format as well. So we're sort of expanding that. We had one today actually on period care. So we had a speaker who was telling us about the fact that a lot of the tampons, the pads that we're using, there's a lot of plastic in it. So it ties into our SDG, the UN SDG goal of sustainability as well, but also for our theme this year, which is self-love, to really know ourselves, know our period, menstrual cycle, and to be empowered with that knowledge.
Great, thanks, Lisa. Okay, so lots and lots and lots of opportunities. Another that I want to talk about that was also very international was a series called BPW, The Future We Want. That was actually something that I initiated 2 months ago. Some of you participated in that. And so we had 40 to 50 people once every 2 weeks for 5 weeks. And the purpose is research. And the final product is still being generated by myself. But the purpose was to collect data from our members that can then be properly quantified in a research format and made into a report, and then given to, this is the purpose in this case, given to the incoming executive when we have a change of guard very soon, so that this can be something that they may want to use, and it's coming directly from our members about their visions for the future. So you could pick any topic, and you need one person actually trained in qualitative research or quantitative, you could run it either way, who has the capability of taking the raw data that you're generating in your sessions and then putting it together in some meaningful format for BPW use. And we could tap into our pool of knowledge in 100 countries around the world about women's issues, for example, and generate a tremendous amount of research in ways that offline or even online, but by email or something like this, or even a link to a survey, which is useful, people might not be as willing to do as they are to come to something like this and then be put into small breakout rooms for smaller discussions and then brought back together to the whole, which is the format that we were using. There are a number of ways to go with that, but I think international research among BPW members could be another whole area we haven't really considered very much yet. And we've got a lot of tools now to do that sort of thing. So who haven't we heard from who would also like to talk about either what you're already doing in your club or federation, or some brilliant idea you have, or some question or concern? We've got a few young people in the room. I know at least one or two of you are actually the young BPW representative. So I'm assuming, because we're all stuck at home mostly, I'm assuming you've been having online events for young members as well. Anybody want to jump in? Okay, Annie?
Okay, hi, and hello from Finland, to everyone. We had a one, and probably have another one in August, because July is holiday season in Finland, and so that's why I decided that it's not both. However, I was wondering, could we do globally something with all the young members on BPW Day? Maybe we could host some Zoom event or something. I know that time zones are challenging, but I don't know, maybe we should start to throw ideas on maybe via WhatsApp or something after this session.
Great. Nilima, do you want to jump in there?
I think I would like to give it to Eva from Latvia Riga. She is the president of BPW Latvia Riga, the young member who is the president, I think.
Okay, so just before that, Eva, actually, Nilima, I was asking if you would respond to Haney. So I know that you're having, and I don't know if you've talked about it yet, an Asia Pacific Young BPW gathering in a couple of weeks, or actually this weekend. And have you been thinking about one for all Young BPW?
Yes, that is in my mind. That is what I wanted to do on 12th of August, but before doing that, I think it has to go what I say is bottom top. So when all the reasons are active, and then I bring them together. So when I'm done with all the 5 reasons, then I'll have an international one, for which I'm really working on it. And hopefully we'll have it soon, yes.
Great. Okay, Eva, over to you.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, as I mentioned in the chat box, that we are, well, inspired by Ireland, Finland as well, and Germany, that we had this discussion in the BPW Europe President's Zoom meeting, that maybe we can create more virtual clubs as well. So, so for example, for our club, we are quite a small club. Barely a club actually, but because of COVID and because well, since July, I'm not the only one young member in our club. Now we have another one, yes. But but yeah, because our ladies in our club are more, how can you say it properly? Well, our
More mature, yes.
Yeah, well, and of course, because we are more living in our capital Riga and in the suburbs, a lot of more ladies who are traveling with bus or have more these health issues or something like that, they don't want to come here to our meetings and so on. Our situation with COVID is not that bad. We had only 30 deaths, so that's not quite a lot. Cases also weren't that lot. So we are also thinking about the virtual club. So even if you are in the main club, you can join meetings in our virtual club. So for example, I already talked with my board that we can maybe meet also every month, once a month, and then 2 or 3 times, like in person. So for example, candle ceremony, of course, and our Christmas celebration meeting and so on. And definitely this virtual club could add more people to our club. Just also, as some ladies mentioned, we also have 2 or 3 ladies that are living either in Spain and Netherlands, that they are not participating in their clubs, but they are also getting information from us, and they want to see what we're doing and so on. So this could be also an option for them to join us. So I think this virtual club could be for every country, because definitely there are some people who can't manage to even come the distance, or they are living more in the suburbs or in the country, and the only thing they need is a phone or a device and internet connection. So I think that will be a really good idea for a lot of clubs, of our clubs, of course. And I think that's it.
Great. So Eva, you mentioned the online president's meeting that's begun in BPW Europe just, I think, 2 months ago. And so we've had all these tools forever, but this crisis has propelled us into the digital world like never before, which is also why we started this series, because it's a crisis and an opportunity for us. And so I know that Pinella, along with Anu, who's the incoming regional coordinator, just started those meetings. And suddenly, instead of coming together once in the 3-year term for the regional conference and maybe a couple of extra symposia here or there, suddenly the presidents can meet monthly. And that's a huge difference. And every region really should be doing this, as long as there's some common language that can be used. It's, language is one consideration, but of course, if the president is not fluent in the common language, she can have someone sitting beside her to help her deal with that. So there are ways to compensate. But that's certainly another use that we should really be considering, is presidents' meetings in each region. There's another online club that's actually been running for 5 years, maybe 6 years now, by Geraldine down in the south of France. It's not a club because there is not a membership and there are not dues, but it does have a monthly meeting online in the Skype format. So it's long predates Zoom, and she prefers to stay with that format. But they've been meeting on a wide variety of topics, and also to share best practices from each of their own clubs or federations for a very long time. So this is just another possibility. Camilla, do you want to talk to us?
Good morning. I'm in Brazil. I'm part of BPW Florianópolis, as I told in the last meeting. And Eva, I'm very happy that the situation there it's good, because here we're passing through a bad situation with COVID, but we will pass through it. I'm sure of that. And I'm very happy to listen your ideas, because there are many inspiration and many different formats. And here we are doing almost the normal schedule, just everything virtual. So I'm keeping from this meeting many ideas to try to implement and think about. I love the idea about the cooking club and the talent pool. I think it's very inspiring to try to share these skills and the talents of the members with everybody. And I'd like to ask, I don't know, because as Annie knows, I'm quite new in BPW, and I'd like to know if there is an international group or something, or a place where we can see all the events and all the clubs and everything that's happening in the international environment. It would be amazing to share everything and to, keep everybody informed about the schedule.
There is not at this time. It comes up a lot in sessions like this when we talk about communication tools and so on. And I think because until the last few months, because of this crisis, we haven't had so many online events around the world. Now we recognize the need for it. And so it may require a different website. It may require some more interactive way of contributing to that so that all the clubs can contribute their events rather than it having to be uploaded by one person. But definitely we need a way. We explored that in another session, video tutorial in this series called Mighty Networks, because that's one option for this sort of thing. Yes, Chantal likes that very much. But there are lots of platforms for that, and we certainly need an interactive calendar like this so that we can attend all of the different events. So not yet, but excellent idea, and many of us are thinking about and working toward that.
Yeah, would be amazing. And there is other thing that we are discussing here, and it's a workplace with the members. So everybody can contribute and share ideas there, and would be also amazing if we could do that internationally.
Requiring a networking kind of platform. So
Yeah.
excellent. Let's hope so. So Joscelin, sorry, we have Joscelin the speaker, but I'm looking at Joscelin de Satel. If you'd like to jump in. If you know, okay. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, just an opportunity to speak if you want. And we have Anne also, if you want to jump in. Anne Koski. Maybe not. Okay. So we have a few more minutes today. We have just about 3 or 4 more minutes for discussion, and then we'll begin the closing. So is there anybody else, maybe one, possibly 2 more people who are burning to contribute something or ask a question or something? Chantal, your hand was quickly up, so jump in.
I put it in the chat, but since there's time, I thought I could speak again. I learned a lot during the future BPW events that we're planning on having, and I'm so excited to share with you here that based on what I learned during those sessions, a colleague and I came up with a speed networking event that we're doing for HR, human resources professionals. And it's the first networking event in the history of our association that has received professional development points, because we're using the tools that you used of giving those questions with the breakout rooms and people learning from each other in the breakout rooms. So because of that, we've made a first. So thank you very much, Anne.
So I'm assuming what you're doing now is in the professional community, not in your BPW club.
Yes, it's in my other professional association.
In HR, okay.
Yes, but we're also looking at doing a hybrid event this October. So I picked up some great lessons from Joscelin today that we'll use for a BPW and our partners event that we're doing this October. It's our 6th annual event during our local business week. We have 5 women speakers that'll be invited to talk on a topic, and some will be in person, some will be virtual, and we anticipate that our audience will be bigger than the 50 or so women that we have every year, because we're going to be a hybrid event. Sorry, I shouldn't say 50 women. We occasionally have a man or 2 come too because they support women, so that's good.
50 people, mostly women. Okay, got it.
Yes.
Great. Okay. So one other thing I want to throw out there is twinning. We did a whole webinar on twinning for the other webinar series that I'm involved with called Leadership in BPW. And that was just a couple of months ago, and the video is online if you want to look at it there. But generally speaking, clubs that twin with each other, sometimes the twinning is very active, and often it's a twinning in name only, and we have a couple of, and we're guilty of that in the past in Hong Kong too. And it doesn't go very far. It doesn't go nearly as far as the 2 clubs had hoped. But going back to the beginning of Joscelin's presentation about joint meetings, for example, and so on, if you've twinned with another club, I think you should have several shared meetings in the course of a year and a shared event or a shared community project. And the project could be online or offline. If it's offline, put an online component that both clubs are sharing too, whether it's sharing data or a support system or something like this. So putting the twinning also in this format would make our twinning relationships that we choose to have far more interactive with one another. So that's just one more area that we can consider. So before I give any closing remarks, I want to turn it back over to our speaker. Joscelin, do you have any last words you'd like to say?
Last words for tonight, right? Yes. To be honest, I was totally amazed by like your sharing and what the other BPW affiliates have actually been doing, and I see that in the chat people have been really contributing. I love the idea of like the cooking class and you're like having like a fun event together, because like we always think of like professional women, like you only have to go for like professional training. But I think that like for example, I did this afternoon like a self-love and all that. I think those are something that we should definitely explore. And I feel that for our young BPW today, we can definitely continue our discussion in the WhatsApp group that some of you have mentioned. And for other BPW members, I'm sure that we can further today's discussion and share your event links like to our like Facebook group and all that. I see somebody mentioning for the NYC event. Yeah, I see Francesca sharing like everyone to be invited to the New York event. You can send her an email. That's awesome. I mean, we could attend another BPW event like virtually, and I do look forward to that. Thank you so much tonight, and I love all your creative ideas.
Yes, it's tonight in Hong Kong, afternoon for me, morning for Camilla, and so on. Nobody's in the middle of the night though. And Nilima, again, before I conclude our session, would you like to jump in?
Yes. One thing about, the information about the events that's happening around the world, regarding most of the events, I make sure that I post in the Young BPW Facebook page, Facebook group, and we also have a WhatsApp. There are many WhatsApp group related, like it's a regional one, and latest one is the Young BPW Global WhatsApp group, where we have members from all over the world. And I think that is the best way in which we can do it. And also I would suggest that, if you to get in touch with the president of your country, because all the invitations are sent to your president, and you have to make sure that you are informed of. Sometimes they have a lot of work to do, they may forget, but you have to make sure that if there is any events that you can attend, and in that way you make the president active as well. So it's high time that we make them responsible. So for that, I would suggest to get in touch with the president, and especially if you have any, if you think that there's any event going on, and which even I will not be, or I'm not aware of, I think you can say, just send it to the group, that any WhatsApp group that you are in. So I think in that way we can get connected, and that's how we share the information all over the world.
Thanks, Nilima. We will get to an interactive calendar, believe me, that we need as well. Nilima, the young events, because you're very, very diligent about that, are passed to all the presidents, which is not to say affiliate events around the world are. So we still need a central calendar somewhere, to be sure. Okay, so I'm going to bring this to a close. I want to thank, first of all, our speaker, Joscelin, for a wonderful presentation that gave us a springboard into all of these very rich ideas that we've now been contributing. I want to remind everybody that because this is being recorded, it will actually be online within 24 to 48 hours. And if you're not sure, you just look on YouTube for BPW Goes Digital. You'll find a lot of previous videos there as well. And there's another series there you might also be interested in, which is Leadership in BPW. Different series, but also a lot of videos available for our members. So look for both of those. We want to thank you all for your very rich contributions today. If you would like to save the chat, which has an amazing amount of material in it, I would highly suggest that you all do so. If anyone doesn't know how to do that, you just click on chat as if you were going to write a message, and just beside that empty bar at the bottom where you would normally write your message, there's 3 dots, which is a small menu, and the first is Save Chat, which will save it as a document to your computer. So I would recommend you do that now, because once I close this session, it won't be there anymore. If you have failed to do that but would like it, you can contact me, because it automatically comes to me as the meeting host. But I much prefer that you all save it to your own computers. So as you wish. Okay, thanks one and all. Lovely to see your beautiful faces. We have 3 more of these webinars coming up in the middle to end of next month, starting in the middle to the end, the last 3 Wednesdays of the month. So look for those on our BPW Goes Digital Facebook page. And we hope to see you all again very soon. Bye for now.
Bye.
Goodbye.